Hi, welcome back. You're listening to CRNC The Heat, but for this hour, we are going to be called the Night Sports Show. I'm Zach DeWeerd, and along with me is Mark Vanderlugt, Alex Vanderlaan, and Caleb Radley. This is our second episode. We've kind of been slacking off a little bit this semester, but we're going to see how it goes this time. We haven't talked about the NHL at all, and that's kind of what we're going to focus on today. So, just to kick off a debate, I'm just going to ask straight up, who's your pick to win the Cup?
My pick? You want to know my pick?
So I know that a lot of us are Leafs fans, and
here's the lowdown.
Here it is.
I'm gonna say Tampa Bay. It's Tampa Bay.
Okay, actually, I was going to say the same thing.
I was actually going to say the same thing.
But here's why, though. Okay, when you look at a Stanley Cup championship team, you look at what their roster is made up of, who's been on their team, who's on their team right now, where they've gone, where they're going, and where they will go. Okay, Pittsburgh Penguins. They're repeat champions, okay? They're an easy pick based on the fact that they've won the Cup twice in a row. But this year, I just don't see it. They've lost too many pieces of their team from last year to actually be an effective team this year to go deep in the playoffs again. With that said, Tampa Bay just has too deep of a team for Pittsburgh Penguins to actually make a run.
They actually just got mucked. The Penguins by the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Exactly.
7-1 last night.
That's what I'm saying. When you lose Bonino, Marc-Andre Fleury, it's just the list goes on of the players that they lost. Like when you have Olli Mata and Justin Schultz and Chris Letang as your three defensemen, it's okay. But after that, it just drops off significantly.
But who do the Lightning have? They have Hedman. Anton Strawman, Dan Girardi as their top three. That's not better than the Penguins, in my opinion.
But you look at Hedman, though, he's a top 5 defenseman
in the league.
So that should be enough. Because when you have Kucherov and Stamkos, you're going to be okay. You're going to be fine.
Right, and I guess the big question is Stamkos going to be healthy? For 2 seasons, he has not been healthy, and the Lightning have suffered because of that, right? They missed the playoffs last season.
And you look at what he's doing right now, though, he's leading the league in points.
Yeah, not a bad comeback for him, eh?
I mean, but when you have the name of the game right now is putting the puck in the net more times than the other team, and the Lightning are pretty good at that, but due to their system as well, they're pretty good at keeping the puck out of their own net. Andrei Vasilevsky is a very solid goalie. His number one job is to stop the pucks, and he's doing that pretty well.
No, I agree 100%.
A team out of the West that I kind of like this year is the LA Kings. They're the team they have pedigree. They've been there before. They still have Drew Doughty, who in my opinion is the best defenseman in hockey. They have Kopitar up front, and they're playing a new style of hockey this year. They have a new coaching staff, new philosophy. I don't know. Just really like what I've seen out of them.
Dustin Brown is he's been playing well.
He looks like a reborn player.
He's gotten 9 points in his last 5 games.
He looks reborn.
I don't think that's going to be a precursor of his whole season this year, but having said that, when Dustin Brown can get 11 points in his first 7 games this season, that's a pretty good sign of what this season could turn out to be.
And they still have Jonathan Quick, too, who, again, is a true number one goalie.
They have Drew Doughty, they have Jake Muzzin, they have Alec Martinez. Those defense. 3 defensemen are very good.
And they've all won the Cup before.
Yes.
They've all been there.
Yep,
and
they've all been there.
You can't underestimate that.
Because then when you have the 70s line to Foley, Pearson, and Carter, along with Anze Kopitar and Gaborik, you're going to do very well.
Deep team. Deep, very deep.
Caleb, what about you? What are your thoughts?
Pick out of the East is Toronto. Pick out of the West would be Nashville. I know that LA's look good. I don't know. I'm not convinced they'll be able to keep that up. And Tampa Bay, if we remember, this was the team that gave Toronto the run for their 8th place last year. They've had a good first 8 games, but Kucherov's not going to get 100 points. Stamkos isn't going to get 100 points. That line's been on fire. It's not going to last. If we have the statue, they've given up 24 goals, which is average. LA's given up 14. It's not like Vasilevsky's been playing like a god. He's given up 24 goals. And for me, it's just that first line's not going to be able to keep it up all year. They've been good, but it's 8 games into the season. Toronto, I think, in my opinion, has looked the best all around. And I think we're forgetting how good Nashville is, losing who? Mike Fisher?
Yeah,
Anyone
and
else?
they have Johansson back. They didn't have him for the cup round
Yeah,
last
they
year.
didn't have him for the cup round. And
It doesn't
they're
help that Ryan
experienced.
Ellis is out for half the season, I believe, but they can get by without him for sure.
Mark's showing me some stats here saying that Stamkos has had 66, 65, and then 18 points. That's not convincing. That
Okay, but the one thing...
Sorry,
so,
Kucherov has had 16 points.
so the two teams we have mentioned for the Cup, the LA Kings and the Tampa Bay Lightning, they're actually 1 and 2 in goal differential. Plus 13 and plus 12 respectively, LA Kings and Tampa Bay. So you can't say that they're not a good team in that sense. I would not be surprised if it was a Tampa LA final at all. I think they're two very good teams. I don't think Toronto's going to make it out of the East, in my opinion. I think Tampa Bay is a better team. I wish they would as well. But
Okay, so here's my thoughts on Toronto. Most well-rounded team to me doesn't make any sense because they've lost, or they beat the Rangers 8-5. Okay, 5 goals against. They've lost to New Jersey 6-3. They've lost to the Senators 6-3. They're offensively very well-rounded because when you have Nazem Kadri on the third line, you're going to win a lot of games. And when Connor Brown started the season off on the fourth line, that's a 20-goal scorer. That's a very good player. Okay, when you have a 20-goal scorer on your fourth line, you're going to win some games. Okay, now they have Mitch Marner, unfortunately, on the fourth line. I think it's the right call for now, developmentally. But yeah, like when you look at the Leafs offense, it's not hard to think that they could go deep in the playoffs, but then you look at their defense and it's concerning, you know? But here's what it is though, okay? Frederik Andersen seems to be the same type of goalie as Henrik Lundqvist in the terms of starting the season off very slowly, which I know Andersen will turn his season around. The defense will formalize like they did last year, because come time to April and May, they were playing very good hockey. They were playing some really good team hockey. They were able to play that 1-goal game. Right now, I don't see the team going deep in the playoffs. They can make the second round, third round for sure. Stanley Cup Finals, I don't think so, because I think that goes to the Tampa Bay Lightning. They just have that X factor of team play.
I think that in that game where the Leafs beat Washington 2-0 earlier in the year, I think that we got a glimpse of what that team could be defensively there. Also, in the opening game of the year, Andersen was definitely the star of the team. They won 7-2, but that first period, the first half of the first period, I don't think the puck left the Leafs' end, and Andersen stood on his head to keep him in it.
It's just like when stuff like that happens, it's concerning, but when they bounce back the next period, it's good. Championship teams don't let that stuff happen.
It's just so exciting to watch, though.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So
It's nice to see them score 8 goals a game, but when they can't keep the puck out of their net that same game, you just don't know what's going on. Okay, because that 2-0 game against Washington is definitely a glimpse of what the future could become. Get your goals and then shut the whole game down. I personally like that kind of hockey.
You like the park the bus attitude sometimes.
Sometimes it's good. While I don't know, I just like when they're playing. No, but like when you're playing against Washington, they're 2 weapons, 4 weapons. Okay, Backstrom, Kuznetsov, Ovechkin, Oshie. They're good players, but are they what they were last year? No, they lost Justin Williams. Tom Wilson is not very good.
They lost
both Alzner and Shattenkirk.
Exactly.
And
Shattenkirk is doing extremely well this season. Okay, he is definitely a player that moves the puck very effectively. And when you lose a defenseman like that, your offense will hurt a little bit or a lot.
I've never been big on Shattenkirk personally. He's an amazing power play quarterback, but I don't know his defensive abilities.
No, absolutely.
His defensive abilities leave something to be desired.
Yes, absolutely. Yep.
So, Mark, you brought up a point about Andersen hopefully getting out of a bit of a slump and getting into that. So that brings up my next point about contenders and pretenders. So that's a kind of term that us sports fans know. Contenders are who is actually at the top and will contend for that playoff spot.
Or a legitimate team.
Or a legitimate team. Yeah. But the pretenders are the teams that are up in the top of the standings early, but we expect them to fall down. And a few teams that come to mind, we were talking before the show, the New Jersey Devils and Las Vegas Golden Knights. Now, the Las Vegas Golden Knights have won 6 of their first 7 games, an NHL record. But let's be real. Do we really think that they will be able to make the playoffs?
No. It's a good start, but, I mean, they're not going to keep it up. And, yeah, you can't lose the cup in the first – wait, no, it's the other way around. You can't win the cup in the first couple weeks, but you can lose it.
Right.
And they haven't lost it. So, I mean, on that sense, they're doing what they need to do.
No, okay, so here's the thing with Vegas, though. Marc-Andre Fleury is a very solid goalie,
He's
okay?
also concussed.
But yeah, no, okay. He's also concussed.
Yeah, okay.
But here's the thing, okay? He's been a number one goalie his whole NHL career. And what people forget why he struggled so heavily last year, okay? He's used to being a number one goalie. He's used to playing like a number one goalie. He's paid like a number one goalie, okay? And then last season when he struggles, why did he struggle? He did not play as much as a number one goalie. Okay, he's from 2005 and to now, to last season, he was a number one goalie for the Pittsburgh Penguins. And then all of a sudden, when Matt Murray steps in and wins them 2 cups, you're probably not going to be the number one goalie anymore. But when you have, I don't know. I'm not satisfied with what Vegas has done so far. They've beaten the Sabres. They've beaten the Avalanche, they've beaten Arizona.
Twice.
3 teams, not good. Okay? But they've beaten St. Louis Blues on account that I think St. Louis may have taken them a little lightly than they thought. I don't know. I don't see the hype with Vegas. It's good to be excited about their start. They're 6-1. That's incredible for an expansion team. Don't get me wrong. It's historic, actually, but the teams that they've played, I think that was done on purpose from the schedule makers of the NHL, just to allow them to not get dummied in their first 10 games of the season. You know, like they easily could have been put up against the Tampa Bay Lightning, Toronto Maple Leafs, the Washington Capitals, the Nashville Predators, the elite teams of the NHL, okay? But when they're not put up against those teams and they take advantage of those mediocre teams, you should expect them to be competitive if they don't win. You know, it's easy to play against Vancouver versus Tampa Bay Lightning. That's why Vancouver is Vancouver and Tampa Bay Lightning is Tampa Bay Lightning right now.
Right. Caleb, you have the mic on for the first time in the show. Do you have anything to say?
I think we're getting close to the point where it's getting past the contender-pretender stage. You know, we're already 10% throughout the season, and Las Vegas is still in first place. So for me, I don't get your guys' hype around Tampa Bay. I think that, you know, if anything, they're the pretender for first place, and the fact of it is they've got a first line that's clicked like crazy right now. But they're not going to keep that up again. Kucherov is on pace for like 170 goals. That's not going to happen. And right now they're playing really good hockey. In my opinion, I would take Washington over Tampa Bay 10 times out of 10. I think you guys are forgetting how elite Washington is, losing only Johansson and Shattenkirk.
And Alsner.
I'm not worried about all 3 of them, to be honest. Shattenkirk almost lost them the playoffs single-handedly. So for me, it's Toronto, Washington out of the East, and Nashville in the West. I don't think you can take Nashville or Washington lightly after the seasons they had last year. And
You're not putting Pittsburgh in there? Why?
Pittsburgh's always good, but
Okay.
I don't think they. If you look at their bottom 2 lines, they're almost laughable at this point. They really don't have any depth. And that's the same with Tampa Bay. I don't think Tampa Bay is very deep either.
Yeah,
that's what the Leafs have, and that's
Crosby,
why I love,
Malkin, and Kessel. That's all you need. That's all you need. You have Letang and you have Matt Murray.
And the thing about the Leafs is they've got 4 solid lines. And the thing about Babcock is he doesn't have line 1, 2, 3, 4. He has 4 lines, which is something that a lot of teams don't focus on, and I think is a really good thing because you've got, I wouldn't say a star, but you've got a player who can put the puck in the net as well as hit on every single line, and that's why the Leafs are doing so well. They've got 4 lines that need to be matched up against.
Just going back to the whole Tampa point, in my opinion, Tampa's actually one of the deepest teams in the entire National Hockey League. Up front, you got Stammer and Kucherov, and then you have guys like Palat, Nemesnikov, Tyler Johnson, Braden Point,
has been unreal
all
this
those
season,
guys.
yeah.
And I'm forgetting a few others too. And on defense, Hedman's the star. But you got two young guys like Jake Dotchin and Mikhail Sergachev, both, in my opinion, could contend for Rookie of the Year, as there haven't really been any
Games? Through 8 games?
You're the one that just said contender-pretender stage is over. Like
We're 10% through the
these guys
season.
are proven. These guys are proven they can hang around with the big boys in the NHL. I like what I've seen.
Okay, I don't know if you can say that they're going to win the Rookie of the Year based on 8 games.
I said they're certainly contenders.
Well, there's lots of contenders. I could name 20 of them, one from each team. I'm sure there's plenty, but it's not that I'm saying Tampa Bay is a bad team. I'm just saying this is a similar Tampa Bay team to last year's Tampa, who didn't even make the playoffs.
Except they didn't have Stamkos.
And they're a year older. They're all a lot of young guys.
Stamkos changes the whole team dynamic.
He's not a bad
He's probably
player.
a top 10 player in the
When he's
the
on,
NHL.
he is a top 10 player.
I think Stamkos makes
I think
huge difference.
You're going against your point now, though, because you were talking about the depth on Tampa Bay, but you're saying if they don't have Stamkos, they're not.
Well,
a playoff
if you
team.
take Patrick Kane off Chicago, take Crosby off of Pittsburgh.
They're still playoff teams.
Tampa,
Take Matthews off Toronto. I believe that Toronto is still guaranteed a playoff team.
Probably,
so if you're saying
but
that
Tampa
you
was
take
right there
Stamkos
too.
out, yeah, they missed the playoffs. You can't say that they're a good team.
No, I
8
know.
teams out of both conferences. More than half the NHL teams make it to the playoffs. For me, if you guys are making the argument that Stamkos was gone, blah blah blah, like it's not a great argument considering you just talked about their depth, and depth means that without your star player, you still do well. And Pittsburgh's shown that they can do that the past few seasons when they've lost Crosby. And that's the thing with some teams. Washington hasn't really had to deal with that. The Blues never have lost Tarasenko.
they've only had Tarasenko for like 3 years.
Snipeko.
Like there's teams that have never had to go through that adversity of losing a star, and obviously Tampa Bay just falters. So
when you lose your best player, I think that's hard for any team to come back from.
When you lose,
you just talked about their depth.
Yeah, but again,
Alex, when you lose Ben Bishop in the same season as losing Stamkos, you're not going to do very well, though.
That's why I think they're going to be better this year.
That they gave up Ben Bishop because they were junk, because they were not a playoff team. That's why they were a seller at the deadline.
Similar to Pittsburgh's situation, they gave up Fleury because they knew they had Murray. The Lightning gave up Bishop because they knew they had Vasilevsky.
And because Ben Bishop was a UFA at the end of this season. He's a UFA, and they have cap problems.
Yeah, but if you're a playoff team, you don't start selling based on the fact that you've got a UFA at the end of the year. That's not what happens. You don't sell your team to try and lose the playoffs so that you get something in return. They go for the playoffs, and I don't care if he was a UFA. I don't care if he's a UFO. The fact of it is that they traded Ben Bishop because they were that bad of a team last year.
They were not bad at all. They weren't bad at all.
How'd they do in the playoffs?
They weren't in
the playoffs
for the 8th
and they
spot.
missed it. I'm just saying, you guys can't get this excited over a team that missed the playoffs, falters without a star player, because we know that Stamkos in the past couple of years cannot stay healthy. This year could be different, knock on wood.
When you break your leg sliding into a net, that's really unlucky.
It is, but it also means that you have a higher chance of injuring that leg later on.
Caleb,
you never know, and I'm saying, sure, there are fluke injuries.
At one point
the guy
last
could
season,
stub his toe playing soccer and break his foot for a year. I don't know. I'm just saying, if you falter that badly with the missing of your first line centerman, that's not a team for me that shows that they could make it in the playoffs, because as we all know, playoffs are completely about grinding through injuries, 7-game series, tons of travel. They're going back and forth. Game 5, 6, 7 is back, forth, back. And Tampa Bay just seems like they just don't really, I don't know, have it in them to make a good playoff run. In my opinion, I could be wrong, and they could win the Stanley Cup. I'm just telling you that I think they have absolutely no shot to do that.
In 2 years, didn't they make it to the conference finals, though? 2 years ago?
Yep.
Okay, just wondering. I'm just wondering. But okay, now so we've gone. All right, Al, you have one more point to put in there?
I don't know which way you're trying to steer this, but just about Sergachev again. The guy he was traded for was Jonathan Drouin to Montreal, and Sergachev has actually scored more goals as a rookie defenseman than Jonathan Drouin as the Canadiens' number one center this year.
It's the worst offense in NHL history center. I'm not too worried about that.
A rookie defenseman. Against a number one center against a rookie defenseman.
Was a rookie defenseman that scored like 30 goals.
Oh, he scored like, I don't know how many he scored, but it wasn't 30.
All right, we're going to see the conversation in a little bit of a different way. Now we're going to go for who's actually contender at the bottom. So I've named out 4 of the bottom 6 teams, and maybe they're contenders. Like the Edmonton Oilers are in the bottom 6, the Montreal Canadiens, the New York Rangers, and San Jose Sharks are all within the bottom 6 of the overall NHL standings. Of those 4, are they playoff teams?
You can't overlook the Oilers when you're looking at teams that are contend for the Cup. They were a conference finalist last year. They have the best player in the world. Cam Talbot's a solid goalie. Yeah, like there's in my opinion, there's no way they're going to stay at the bottom of the league for a long time.
So is that another case where Leon Draisaitl is his injury hurting the Oilers that much?
He's certainly not worth the contract that he signed this offseason.
I think that's another good example of it. You never know. Obviously, we aren't going to know, but a young team, no experience, lost their star player. That could be the reason. They've never had to deal with something like this. And when Edmonton lost McDavid,
except they lost
years
McDavid,
ago,
yeah,
really faltered again. Again, that was his first year. But for me, I think the only team that could be in contention is Edmonton. Montreal is, to put it nicely, pathetic. The Rangers, Lundqvist is out of his prime. He had a good game sat Friday night, but Lundqvist isn't the goalie he used to be. And who's the other one you named?
San Jose.
Yeah, San Jose. I'm sure they'll make the playoffs, but that's an old team. Like Joe Thornton, Mark-Edward Vlasic, even Couture's almost 30 years old.
Pavelski's getting up there too.
Pavelski's in his 30s. Burns is in his 30s.
32.
And Jones hasn't been playing like a number one goalie.
And I think that's the problem with every single one of those teams. Their goalies are not being number one. Cam Talbot is not the solid goalie right now.
And you look,
Carey Price is
Quick hasn't been great, but in past years, this year Quick is unstoppable. This year, Allen for the Blues has been really good. Corey Schneider's been really good. Crawford's been really good. You look at all the top teams, and they've got goalies that are performing up to their standard. And you look at bad teams. You look at Montreal, Carey Price has been awful. Edmonton, Cam Talbot's been awful. Rangers, Lundqvist has been awful. Arizona, Grice?
Arizona's Ranta.
Ranta, I don't know what Ranta's doing.
Well,
Ranta's not doing
you
very
can't
well.
really compare any team to Arizona at this point.
Arizona's a bit of a joke.
Derek Stepan should not be a number one center on any team. But
yeah, and that's I don't really know what Arizona, kind of what direction they're trying to go in. I thought Duclair was somebody who was definitely underperforming, but shouldn't have been given up on so quickly. Young player, plenty of experience with like World Juniors and junior hockey. I feel like he just needed some time, and they gave up on him pretty early. And now they've got Stepan, who's in his 30s, to come in and try and help this young team. To be honest, like if I was Arizona, I don't think Jágr would have been that bad of a signing. I think Calgary, great signing for Calgary.
Jágr actually just got injured last game, if you knew. But
45.
Oh wow!
But I think Jágr could have helped Arizona. They're a young team. They don't really have much skill. Max Domi's exciting. Ekman Larsson's exciting, but otherwise, there's not much to like with Arizona's team right now.
Looking at the Montreal Canadiens, that's a team that I'm seriously concerned about their future. Well, actually, as a Leafs fan, I don't really care, but they're going nowhere. Arguably the worst offense in hockey. They've ruined Alex Galchenyuk in any trade value that he's had. Why would you play a player like that on the fourth line? Like, it's a different situation in Toronto putting Marner on the fourth line because that offense is so deep. But a team like the Canadiens, they can't afford to have their probably second most talented forward playing fourth line minutes. That's just ridiculous. On defense, they have Weber and a couple old slow guys. And Carey Price, yeah, when he's on, he's the best goalie in the world. But his 8-year, $10.5 million contract doesn't even kick in until next season. That takes him to, I believe, his age 39 season. So they're going to be paying their goalie $10.5 million for the next 8 years when they have huge holes all throughout their lineup. I just don't know where they're going to go from here.
Yeah, it's disappointing. But like you said, as Leafs fans, I'm actually okay with how it's going.
I really don't.
But anyways, we're going to take a quick breather. We will be back in less than 10 minutes to maybe talk a little bit about baseball, a little bit about basketball, or maybe some more hockey. Tune in and find out. All right, welcome back. This is the Night Sports Show. I'm Zach, along with Caleb, Alex, and Mark. So we had a long conversation about hockey, and now we're going to go into a bit of a different direction. We're going to talk about baseball. So the World Series finalists are, we know them now, they're the Houston Astros and Los Angeles Dodgers. So, again, like I started the show, who's your pick to win the World Series?
I'm going to go with the Dodgers. When you have Clayton Kershaw on your team, you're going to do pretty well. But with that in mind, the Houston Astros have a very good pitching rotation, and then they have Jose Altuve and leading their offense. Jose Altuve is a very good offensive weapon, and with that in mind, their pitching is pretty good. I think it'll be a very close series, but my pick is going to go to the Dodgers.
Yeah, I have to go with the Dodgers, too. When you have a pitcher like Clayton Kershaw making 2 out of 7 starts, in my opinion, that's almost 2 guaranteed wins right there. I know the Astros are a very good offensive team, but Kershaw is on a whole nother level. The Astros' time will certainly come. Like, they're a good young team, but I just feel like this is the Dodgers' year.
Yeah, I hadn't even thought about it much because I was just so happy that 2 likable teams are in the World Series. And the Dodgers have always had the, high payroll, always been a good team, but, they haven't won a World Series since 1988. And
they haven't been to a World Series since 1988.
1988, and they're a likable team. There are guys on that team that they're, even the Yankees, even being a Blue Jays fan, the Yankees honestly would have been okay because they're a likable team. They're a new, fresh, they're not Jeter, they're not A-Rod, they're not Rivera. Mind you, Rivera wasn't too bad. They have a new young team, and I think that's what was really special about the Final Four this year, and even seeing teams like Arizona, Colorado, teams that haven't been doing well in the past kind of coming up, and that's what I love about baseball because things are always different. And it's not like football where it's just Pats are going to win every year no matter what any single team does, or Seahawks for their 2 years. So for me, if I had to put money on it, I think I would say the Dodgers strictly just because they've got home field advantage. In baseball, it's really nice to have those first 2 games and last games at home.
Yeah,
the
Houston,
Dodgers record at home was
Houston only won at home. They lost every single game
exactly.
Right?
And again, Houston's a young team. You don't know if playing on the road gets to them. I don't know if it had anything to do with the temperature. The World Series is going to be hot either way, which is nice, but. For me, I would say the Dodgers. Like Alex said, the reality is Kershaw will probably get in at least 3 games. We saw that with Kluber last year. Kluber pitched in 3 games, and all 3 I think the Indians won, and the 4 that he didn't touch the ball were the ones they lost. But I think that the Dodgers are definitely deep enough otherwise to find 1 or 2 wins when Kershaw's not in the mound, either with Rich Hill.
Darvish now.
Darvish.
Would agree.
Urias in the bullpen. Yeah, Wood was 16-3.
Ryu has actually done very well for the Dodgers as well. But yeah,
and Kenley Jansen can't be touched.
No.
What was the winning streak that they went on this past season? It was 30-something games.
Cleveland.
Oh, but in July, the Dodgers won 36-3.
Yeah,
July and August.
Okay.
Yeah, they
that's
didn't
the
have
run
a
that they
winning
did.
streak, but they had a 36 of 39 or something like that. And
but yeah,
but didn't the Dodgers also lose 11 in a row at one point?
11 in a row in September.
It was a streaky team.
Yeah, but
they
again,
also stayed 30 games above the second place
but
team.
Even after the streak, right? They were still 10 games up on the Diamondbacks,
and they still came back and were a good team. And you'll see with a lot of other teams, you start losing some games, it turns into a snowball, and you just go down the drain. Right? The Dodgers are not completely, but they are an experienced team, more than the Astros. And for me, the home field advantage is just I think that this year would definitely be a Dodgers year. I think that, as Alex said, the Astros in the next 3 years will win one. I just think this year the Dodgers are Justin Turner, guys who weren't meant to.
Justin Turner's. I didn't know.
Chris Taylor.
Yeah, Justin Turner's been in the league for like 10 years. He was on the Mets.
Nothing.
I had no idea he was on the Mets.
He had a great year this year. He was hurt for a bit,
and
but
Chris Taylor, 22 home runs out of nowhere. Cody Bellinger started the year in.
He said he wanted to be a September call-up.
He wanted to be on the 40-man roster. He's going to win the Rookie of the Year hands down.
No doubt.
So I don't think the Dodgers were expecting that. And again, Alex Wood, was he supposed to go 16-3? Rich Hill, I think he went 14-7.
Puig had an incredible season.
And the thing is this is looking exactly like the Jays. You've got Rich Hill and Alex Wood, both having career years. I want to connect it. It's not necessarily a connection, but look at Hap Estrada. I would say the Dodgers have to do something this year, because I'm saying that Alex Wood and the rest of their pitching staff, they won't be having 15-win years. I think this is really their year to win it. Whereas the Astros, Keuchel, he was good. He wasn't great. Morton, he was 14-7. He was good, but he wasn't great.
Lance McCullers wasn't great.
Lance McCullers was probably under what he should have been.
Lance McCullers threw 28 straight curveballs last night.
Lance McCullers, I don't think, knows how to throw a fastball. So
clearly it worked for him.
Yeah, no kidding.
But what I'm trying to say is the Astros, if they don't win this year, I still think that there's positivity around that team. Whereas with the Dodgers, I don't know. They're not going to have the same season that they had this year, and they've been like the Washington Capitals. They're the best team in the league the whole year, and then what do they do in the playoffs? Absolutely nothing.
Right.
So the fact that they made it this far, I think that this is and they've had a week off. The Astros are hurting. They threw 2 starters in their last game. Verlander's very tired. Morton's very tired. McCullers is very tired. The bullpen is tired. The players are tired. So I just think LA's got a bit of an advantage right off the hop, and home field, it's just LA's definitely sitting pretty. I don't know if they're a better team, but the factors are definitely in the Dodgers' favor.
Yeah. It's also helpful that the Dodgers looks like they're going to be getting Corey Seager back for the World Series, and that's a huge addition over who did they have playing there in the CS? It was
completely random guy.
Culberson, I think.
Yeah,
Culberson,
that guy.
Who actually had a pretty decent series.
But he's not Corey Seager on any level. Seager's a game changer.
And you stick Corey Seager into that lineup. The only way I see the Astros winning is the bats heat up more than they did in that series, because I think that it was Altuve and Correa went 2 for 22.
Bregman's been awful in the postseason.
Bregman hasn't done anything. Brian McCann does not have a hit yet in the postseason, I don't think. And Gaddis, the first time we saw anything from him was that home run in Game 7.
Big home run, though.
So the only way I think they win is, they get Keuchel and Verlander on the mound twice, and they win those 4 games.
Yeah, and I do find it interesting that both of these teams were going for it all right away. Dodgers acquired Darvish. Houston acquired Verlander. 2 big trades, and clearly they're paying off. Verlander has been lights out during the postseason. He won the ALCS MVP, and
clearly they think this year's their year.
Yeah,
both teams,
exactly. But like you said, I think Houston does have their time span is a little bigger than the Dodgers, like you said.
For sure.
And
that's the thing with New York. New York was not buying at the deadline. I don't think they thought that they were possibly even going to make the wild card game.
Yeah,
and the Yankees were a pleasant surprise. So out of the AL things are looking bad for the Jays. Good for the other teams, considering they're both on the up. The Dodgers, you never know what direction that's going to go with. The Cubs, going to be a great team. Colorado's on the rise.
Nationals.
Arizona's on the rise. Nationals are always a good team. I think the Dodgers really have to win it this year, or it's going to be never for them.
The Nationals, we were making comparisons before. The Washington Nationals, they're starting to kind of look like the Washington Capitals in the sense they have amazing regular seasons, but they just can't put it together come playoff time. Head to head, I think the Nationals might have the best roster in baseball, but they just can't put it together when it counts. But they're another team that you have to figure their time is going to come with Harper and Strasburg.
But Harper's only got 1 year left, and he's expected.
He's going to New York.
He's going to leave. Yeah, so the Washington,
that would be
like next year could be their year to shine too, right? again, if Harper leaves, Washington's going to want to win next year. The Cubs are going to come back strong as ever. They're going to have the same team.
They still have
minus
a very young team.
Arrieta's probably going to go, but otherwise
He didn't have a great year this year, though.
No, he wasn't.
Again,
Yeah.
the Brewers were decent this year. Arizona was great this year. Colorado was great
What's
this
up with
year.
the Twins? Where did they come
The
from?
Twins were great this year. There's a
That's
lot of
crazy.
teams that are up and coming that the Dodgers, I don't think, will be able to compete against in the next following years. So it's this year and ever for them.
Right.
And that's why I think they'll win. And honestly, I love the Astros, but they'll do well later. I'd like to see LA win one. Kershaw deserves one more than anyone.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So the MLB awards. So do we have any picks for NL MVP? Do you give it to Bellinger?
Bellinger and Judge. I don't think there's any
For the MVPs.
MVP though, like
Rookie
of the year,
Rookie of the Year.
Bellinger and Judge, obviously.
Yeah.
Even AL MVP is either going to be Judge or
I take
Altuve.
Altuve.
Altuve, 100%.
I take
He batted
Altuve.
346.
Yeah,
And now
that's-
apparently he's got some power now. Like he hit 3 home runs
Opposite
against.
field.
Altuve is an extremely complete player.
Altuve's got everything. He's got range. Yeah, there were plays yesterday that I couldn't believe that.
Like you should. Like
He made-
actually, Mark was saying this about Carey Price, but what you wanted of a shortstop is that he makes the regular play. Altuve makes the play that you don't expect him to make, and that's what a great shortstop is, right?
And
a good shortstop makes the play you expect.
a great hitter will bat 300.
Altuve batted
almost
350.
He hit 350.
He has power. He steals. And everyone in the clubhouse loves him. You can tell.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Everyone's got a handshake with him, and people don't care about that. That's big. That means that he's a likable guy, and guys around him. Correa loves
That
him.
makes him
Springer
valuable.
loves him.
That just adds to his
Bregman
value.
loves him. Like these guys all are following. Although he's 5'4", they're following in his footsteps because he's a great player and he's a leader. So Altuve, I know it's not based on leadership, but leadership goes into the fact that he hit 350. The rest of his team was great.
And it's not a fluke. He's done
Not
it
a
every
fluke.
Yeah,
single
exactly.
year, right? So
I think
It's
for sure,
really too bad that Trout got hurt, though, because the season he had in the limited time, wow.
Trout's already won an MVP.
Trout-
I'm happy with Altuve.
he's won
getting
at least
one.
2. And
Trout's won 2. He's been
Altuve
runner-up the
deserves
other
one.
3 years, but Trout is just something else.
And I think Altuve's finally kind of gotten to the limelight now because the rest of the team's doing well.
Right.
And oh yeah, he batted 330, but the Astros are junk. Well, now he batted 346, and the Astros are going to the World Series. I would say partially, very big partially, because of him. The NL is a different story on the.
That's a whole bunch of guys you could pick out
There are a
there.
lot of
Arenado.
I've loved Arenado from day one.
Even
Unbelievable.
his teammate Blackman, you could argue he has just as good a
Blackman
case.
He set a record for
He's
40 home runs
Yeah,
in
as
the
a
leadoff
leadoff
spot.
hitter.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, who would have thought and going back, we can debate all we want, Blackman versus Stroman, when Colorado offered that before this season, or 2 seasons ago, they offered Blackman versus Stroman.
But Stroman,
At the time, I
Stroman
thought
had
that
a
was
good
the
year
worst trade
too,
ever.
But hey, Blackman's
Now, I
not a
don't
bad
know.
player.
yeah,
No, I
but, or
really don't
like
know.
other than those two, you got guys like Goldschmidt, Votto.
Goldschmidt is the most underrated possible player in sports.
Him and
Not
Votto.
baseball.
Him and Votto.
Sports. Yeah, see, in Votto...
It's just too bad that Votto's team wasn't good, because
But
it
Votto's
shouldn't
been on
take
a
votes
trash
away from him,
team.
but it will. But it shouldn't take votes away. Votto's an incredible player.
I still give it to Goldschmidt. Goldschmidt he has more power, he has more RBIs, and obviously that's partially because of where he hits in the order and this team around him. But I also Votto is a very good defender, but Goldschmidt I think has a better all-round game. Goldschmidt's the most underrated player in the league for me.
The other thing I love about Goldschmidt is he steals bases. Like, when do you see a first baseman putting up 20
Yeah,
steals?
15, 20 steals
Never.
in a year.
Yeah. But yeah, you look at Votto's stats: 36 home runs, batted 320, 110 RBIs. There's
On a
and
terrible Cincinnati
That's
team.
110 RBIs on a...
on a bad team.
Awful
on a
team.
Bad team.
He's got
So, hey,
probably the best eye in baseball.
Oh,
yeah.
for
So
sure.
so I think he's in the running as well.
Oh, yeah. You can't
So
take that
Who
away.
do you give it to? Arenado, Votto, Goldschmidt? Is there anyone
I would
else?
say. I'm trying to think, but
Like
I was
Justin
Harper had a good
Turner,
year,
going-
but he was
going-
hurt for a bit, wasn't he?
going in. Yeah.
Yeah, and you can't Bellinger rookie of the year, but he's not the
Yeah,
MVP.
going into the show, I would have said probably Arenado, but maybe there are some other candidates that deserve it just as much.
That's a
or if not
crazy
more.
race.
You don't even realize that Votto, because he's on
Cincinnati.
I didn't know he hit 320, and I didn't know that he had over 100 RBIs. That's
Yeah.
hard to do on an awful team like Cincinnati.
Yeah.
And that's why I've always been such a big fan of Goldschmidt. He's put up that many RBIs on an awful team. It's not hard to put up Pierre Bautista hit 54 home runs and had 120 whatever RBIs. It's not that hard when you're hitting with Kevin Pillar, Encarnacion, Russell Martin, Tulowitzki all around you, right?
I'd give it to Goldschmidt, though. Yeah, their Diamondbacks made the playoffs this year. They had an incredible year. Goldschmidt was an incredible player, but that's going to be a tight race.
Yeah, and
I could go to any of those four, even a number of other guys.
Yeah, and
still got some Cubs in there we haven't talked about.
Did you do Kershaw?
For MVP? I think Kershaw is Cy Young.
Kershaw Cy Young.
That's no question. Even though he was hurt for a month and he's still Cy Young.
I am not a big fan of pitchers winning the MVP. I'm just saying, there's another name that you could possibly throw in there. I don't think he was more effective than a guy like Arenado or Goldschmidt, but it's happened before where pitchers do win the MVP.
I'm looking at now, even Joey Votto led the NL in walks, which is a big stat as well.
And he has no lineup protection. Like, pitchers have no reason to pitch around him, and he still gets that many walks.
It's simple. He's a good hitter.
Well, that's the only thing where I would argue against it. There's nobody around him. Why not walk him? And so, he won't see a lot of pitches. And that's why you see a lot of good numbers from guys in good lineups. Like, a guy like Judge, do I think he had a great season? Yeah, but is it that impressive considering he was surrounded by Gardner, Gary Sanchez, Greg Bird, Gregorius, who has been unbelievable, Todd Frazier. Even though Jacoby Ellsbury was kind of a nothing this year, it's still Jacoby Ellsbury, a guy who used to be, 30 steals, 30 home runs, and hit 300, right? So
I can't give it to Judge for the strikeouts, too, though. Like, anytime a guy leads the league in strikeouts, that's not a guy that's the MVP, in my opinion. 50 home runs is crazy, but... we haven't even talked about Giancarlo Stanton as the NL MVP. True. The guy...
Oh, yeah, 50.
Okay, but when Judge strikes out 1,000,000 times in a season, doesn't that give you some concerns?
And Alex said that there was a stat, like, clutch factor, and he was the lowest in the NL.
Judge is the least clutch player in baseball since, 1980.
Oh, wow.
And clutch would be runners in scoring position,
Yeah, all that kind of stuff.
2 outs or whatever.
In the later innings.
50 home runs is nice, but
I don't know how they come up
there's
with
something to be
stats,
said for big hits, and Judge did not get many of those this year at all.
Couldn't hit when it was needed. And the thing that I did like about Judge, though, is I really do think he stepped out of that bubble and did perform. Like, you saw him rob 2 home runs in the same series, and he had, was it 2 or 3 home runs in that Astros series, 2 of them coming out of big time. So his playoff performance I was very impressed with. It's just the regular season, 50 or 51? 50.
Judge.
50 home runs, unbelievable, but he was subpar in the field. I think the thing about Judge is, you can talk for any power hitter. He doesn't hit for a great average, and he strikes out a lot, and his defense isn't really anything. So next year, if he hits 20 home runs, he is essentially a useless player.
Exactly. And there's a stretch right after the All-Star break where pitchers did start to figure him out, and he did struggle for a couple weeks to a month in there. And people were saying that's the end of Judge. Like, he had a good first half. He full credits to him. He came back from that, and he rebounded and had a great end of the year. But a guy, he's 6'7"? Yeah. I think 6'7". Yeah, there's a big strike zone for pitchers to work with there.
And, yeah, again, Joey Votto, you start getting in a slump home run-wise, well, you'll still hit 320.
No, okay, but here's the thing with Aaron Judge, though. He's 6'7", but he's 270 pounds. That's a lot of muscle. That's a lot to work with. That's a lot of whip to hit a ball. All right, he's a strong guy.
Got to make contact.
Like, Joey Votto's 5'1"? Cool, that's great. He can hit 350. Okay, he does that on purpose, though. Okay, he's not hitting. He's not gonna get you 60 home runs. Okay, he's not a Giancarlo Stanton. He got 59, one shy. He will never be known for a power guy. Aaron Judge will always be known for a power guy because he's 6'7" and 270 pounds. Altuve has to hit for average. If he's going for power, he's striking out.
Adding power to his game. He's hitting 26. He hit 26 home runs.
Okay, that's great, but he's never going to get you 50. He will never get you 50.
Many people won't. I gotta take my word back. I hope Giancarlo Stanton's listening.
Yeah,
to the
I was
show.
just gonna say that. Can we talk about Giancarlo? Like the guy almost hit 60. That was the most. Who's the last guy to hit 59 home runs? Was it Barry Bonds? Yeah.
Sosa. I think it was Bonds. That's
incredible.
That's incredible. And it was the year of the home run, and this year was the most home runs hit. I think it was ever
by far. I don't like they broke that record with
like
2 weeks.
September.
Yeah, 2 weeks left.
Yeah, so that's partially because the game of baseball is just changing, or you don't know.
Sure.
There's the blisters. You don't know if it's the different material on the baseball. You don't know whatever.
Everyone's on roids.
Humans are getting bigger. Humans are getting stronger. People are more educated on how to train their bodies. You don't know what it is. But again, 59 home runs. Nobody else in the league hit 59. Nobody even hit 50 except for Judge, and that was on the last. I think it was
definitely the last.
Right down to the wire.
The last series.
Yeah. So 59 home run. If a guy hits 59 home runs, and I don't know his exact batting average, but I'm pretty sure it was over
I think it was 273, I believe. I want to say 273.
So 110, 120 RBIs.
And you take Stanton off that Marlins team. What do they have? D. Gordon and...
They have Marcell Ozuna.
Oh, yeah, okay. They have a couple of good outfielders,
Justin Bohr, sorry. They're both good.
They have
They're
essentially
good players.
nothing. They don't
take Stanton off, and that's a bottom
Derek
5, bottom 10 team.
Him, and I 100%. I know it's nice to have a guy like that around your team, but I think you have to trade him and just try and get multiple pieces to try and make this team
right. Because who do they have on the pitching staff? Nobody.
Not really.
Henderson Alvarez.
And the only reason I know him is because he had the no hitter and he was on the Jays before. But besides that, yeah, it's.
But if you go to a team like the Yankees and just, well, maybe not the Yankees, but more of a team now, Cleveland or Boston, you just, give them Stanton and just strip their farm system, 3, 4, 5
Stanton,
rookies.
yeah. If you put Stanton, Boston was surprisingly a very weak, team in terms of power hitting this year. But if you put Stanton on that Red Sox team, watch out. Then you got to be talking about them as a World Series favorite next year.
Who?
The Red Sox.
The Red Sox.
Yeah, the Reds. If a team like the Red Sox or Cleveland, or you can even look at a team like, imagine putting Giancarlo Stanton in Colorado.
Oh dear,
400 home runs.
They already have 6 starting outfielders though.
At Coors Field.
At Coors Field, the guy would hit 1,000,000 home runs. So, if there's a team who's kind of in contention, you never know what the Cubs are going to do.
Yeah.
Who's their left? Schwarber.
Yeah, Schwarber.
Yeah.
Almora played center, I think.
And you look at Schwarber's where I'm worried. What happened to Schwarber could happen to Judge. Schwarber was relied on strictly for his power, and when that was gone, what does Schwarber bring to the Cubs?
He hit 150.
275 extra pounds in the elevator on the way down.
He hit worse than Jose Bautista?
Yeah.
He hit
170 or 180. He struck out way too many times.
Well, because that Mendoza line in baseball, it's at 250, right? If you're hitting below that, it's bad, right?
I think it's lower than that.
Oh,
but yeah,
150? Get him off the team.
Yeah, he hit 170.
He was sent down for a long stretch at the start of the year.
And it didn't help him.
No, not at all.
No defense from Schwarber.
That's what I was going to say. Doesn't bring defense, no speed.
But again, stick him in the AL, have him as a DH, send him to Boston. The guy could be great. So, you never know if you're going to see blockbusters do happen. You never know. Schwarber for guys for Stanton.
Chris Sale going to Boston. That was a big trade.
That was a big trade. And I think that honestly Stanton would do a lot better on another team.
Any other team, really.
Schwarber would do. I think Schwarber is an AL player.
Imagine if he gets traded to the Yankees and the Yankees sign Harper next offseason. They have Harper, Judge, and Stanton. I don't know how that would work. I don't know how that would work position-wise, but wow.
Bird.
Just that outfield. That'd be incredible.
Todd Frazier.
They're all going to be gone in the next couple of years, I think. But
be unbelievable.
We'll see.
I just I think there will be a lot of changes in the next couple of years with Harper getting out of there.
Manny Machado's a free agent.
You're going to see guys wanting to leave. You're going to see probably I'm sure Tula wants out of Toronto badly. They'll have to trade him because he's on the contract. But
better get Tula out of there, please. Donaldson's a free agent.
I think
next
there's a
year
lot
too.
of guys that are they're in places like Schwarber. I think he'd do way better in the AL. Stanton would do way better on another team. Tulowitzki would do way better on another team. Machado, it's okay in the Orioles. I think he'd do better in a bigger market.
I honestly think that's a fair point to make about Tulowitzki, based on the fact that when he was with the Rockies, he was
shortstop.
Yeah,
He was the
Hands
best
down.
shortstop.
Oh,
Not even
absolutely. He
close.
was the best in the game. But when he was with the Rockies as well, he was paid like a superstar. He played like a superstar. He was batting in a superstar spot in the
He
lineup.
was the guy for them.
He was the guy.
was the
But
guy.
when you go to Toronto, they have Bautista, they have
Some
Encarnacion,
guys
they
need
have
that.
Donaldson. He's not the guy anymore.
And that's where you worry about a guy like Stanton getting traded, or you worry
Yeah.
about a guy like Machado's kind of always been kind of like the face of the Orioles, right? And
yeah.
you know, Bryce Harper with Washington, always been the face of Washington. You send him to New York, where he's kind of just still a great player, but kind of shuffled in there. Like, and that's why Donaldson really excelled with the Jays. He kind of was their guy who kind of
Yeah.
got him in the offseason that everyone was really excited about. They had Bautista and Encarnacion, but Donaldson was like third baseman that the Jays have never had. You know, we've been dealing with like Aaron Hill and you know,
Brett
Well,
Morey.
it's
Brett
easy.
Morey.
It's
We've
easy.
had,
No, no, no.
like-
It's easy to bat in that lineup when you have Bautista and Encarnacion.
our right side
you
of the
know?
infield has been cursed forever.
Yeah.
And if you had said 5 years ago we had
Scott
Scott Rowland, like,
Hillenbrand.
and even our left side of the infield, but even our right side lately with Adam Lind, Colabello, who started taking stuff,
Aaron Hill.
Lyle Overbay not actually too
Lyle
long
Overbay,
ago.
like you know, the Jays have always kind of been cursed in that. Like they've
Those-
had
those were-
Vernon
those were
Wells,
fun
and
years.
They've had decent outfielders,
Alex
but they've never
Rios.
had
Rios,
an
Vernon Wells.
infield. And now they have an infield as Justin Smoak,
Eric Hinsky.
Tulowitzki, and Donaldson. You know, so. Again, Donaldson came here. Everyone was pumped. Donaldson turned into a great player. So some guys need to be that star. Some guys need other guys around them.
That's you mentioned Harper. That's what could worry me about Harper going to New York. He's known to be a guy with a big personality.
He wants to be the
And
alpha no matter
yeah,
where.
throw
And
throw
would he
that
hit
into New
3?
York, where
Would he hit 3? He may not hit
biggest
3 in that
media
lineup.
market in
They put Judge
the
at
world.
2 a couple times,
They
but
did, yeah. But you never know. He may not hit 3. He may not. You know, he'd be a face of the franchise, but he wouldn't be as big as he was in Washington. You stick him
Yeah,
in a
think
big market.
about when the Yankees had Jeter and A-Rod. Jeter was the leader, like everyone looked up to him, but a guy like A-Rod, he was always a source of controversy. And I feel like Harper would be that same kind of personality in that market, and who knows how he'd be able to react to that.
25 for his 26-year-old, big market that he's never dealt with. You know, you never know how. And you know, Giancarlo Stanton, Kyle Schwarber. You never know about these guys and what could happen.
I think it's a fair point to make about Harper maybe not being able to handle the limelight in New York, but the one reason why A-Rod was always in the spotlight, under a controversial spotlight, was because he got repeatedly caught for PEDs. You know, that's why he always was in the spotlight. Jeter was consistently a 300 hitter who never took PEDs.
Never got caught for PEDs.
he was always under the speculation of PEDs. But
Yeah, but
he was
how
always
many home runs
unsuspected.
did he get, though? Why would he ever be...
See, but that's not necessarily the thing. You know, steroids, you're stronger. You can take more cuts and.
D. Gordon got
Steroids,
steroids, and the guy's never hit more than 5 home runs
yeah,
in
the
a
big thing about
season.
steroids is just making you train longer. That's the reason athletes take steroids.
So you know, you take 200 cuts in the batting cage in the morning rather than 150. You know, that's 50 more swings that you're getting better, right? So, for me, I think it's 7 o'clock. We got to go. But Derek Jeter
steroids
was,
is a whole different
Derek Jeter was
discussion,
the most
but-
overrated
Next
player
week.
to ever play
Yeah.
baseball.
No, he
in the
wasn't.
game. I hope my
Again,
dad's listening
a whole
because my
different
dad completely
discussion.
agrees.
I know he
but
wasn't.
he
Let's
was
talk
the
about this next
most
week.
Yeah.
Overrated
Let's
player.
have a Jeter
As my
conversation
dad
next
always
week.
says, if Jeter was drafted to Pittsburgh, what would Jeter be?
Derek
He doesn't
Jeter.
answer the question, but I do. He would be a sack of
Still
nuts.
be Derek Jeter.
No, he wouldn't. He would be. He
Nope,
would
still
have,
be Derek Jeter.
Okay, well,
We'll talk
that's
with-
where you
let's
just
talk with this
completely
next
wrong.
week.
You
Let's
can't
talk-
say
It's
that.
7 o'clock.
You
This is
cannot
the
say
night.
that.
What would happen
You
to
cannot
Zach?
say that.
We have Caleb.
You can't
We have
say
Mark.
that.
I'm Zach.
You're wrong.
This is Alex.
Good
Have
night.
a good night, everybody.
You're wrong.